Shabbos hayoim Hashem. Agud Voch Raboisai. Turns out, it's late here in Eretz Yisrael. It's 10:25, so a lot of the guys couldn't make it out. But who do we have here? We have a lot of guests here, sitting right over here. This is the first time we kicked everybody out. So the guests in the front. We have Reb Avi, the Clifton of Yid, Shalom Aleichem. What's your name, Tzadik? Here, I could get up and say Shalom Aleichem from London. Shalom Aleichem. Your name? Also from London?
London,
Stafford Hill. Shalom. You're not a guest, but what's your name? Yossi Sounders, also from England. Shalom Aleichem. What's your name?
And Winters.
From?
Campbell, Maryland.
Wow. Okay, cool. First one from
Campbell, Maryland.
Kemp Mill. Yeah. Something like that. Never heard. Shalom Aleichem. What's your name? Shalom Aleichem. From? Edison, New Jersey. Oh, beautiful. Okay. Who else? Some people. Kalman Rubenstein is a guest in the house. And next to you, not such a guest. What's your name, Tzadik? Yeah. David? Ah, that's right. You were here on a few times already. Okay. Shalom Aleichem. All right. Today is the 38th day in the Oimer. And here is a picture of Gedalia Miller from Kesher in the hospital. He says, had a 4-hour surgery, woke up at 11, nothing crazy, hernias and stuff like that. Got to watch the whole share live before going back to sleep. Thank you for the enthusiasm and inspiration. You keep on motivating to never give up on the daf. It's the first time that I'm keeping up with the daf. I tried 2-3 times in the past. Usually by Shabbos, Masechet Shabbos, I was out. I joined the MDY through the 8-minute daf. All of Shalom. It showed me, I didn't chap that the first time around. It showed me courage that I understand the share, remember almost all of it. Hope it comes back one day. Tchias HaMeis and Bezer Hashem B'Karav Mamish. By the way, the Kahutz is also a great tool. Did it most days during Chazara. Hashem should bench you with you and yours. You should only share Yiddish and Achas and Simchas with a Chuvas Hadas, Gedalia Miller, Kesher Nafshi, Shkoyach. I love this license plate. It's a call to action. It's not Stam MDY. It's join MDY. Hi, Rav Eli. I thought you'd appreciate this. I do. Mil Hashem MDY. See you in Mir Hashem at the Shir Monday in RBS. Your Talmud Shol Sharabi. I don't know, but it's a nice car. It's a BMW. Ken Yerbu. Hi, Rav Eli. I joined at the beginning of Masechet Sotah, but I think I joined on a Mekach Tos. Today, I heard this joke 3 times. I don't want to really say this joke, Barabim, but so many people are saying it, so we'll just talk about it. When you taught me Masechet Nazir, you interviewed a real Nazir. I joined at the beginning of Sotah in the hope that you would interview a genuine Sotah. Who's laughing? What, you guys never heard the joke? It's Yom and Velayla. Enough! Yes. I've never seen a Sotah explode and was eager to watch the ceremony happen. Do you think you could rustle up an interview sometime soon? It will be much appreciated. Kind regards, Eli. The guy says it's Mike Chtas. He's going to leave the share soon. Our boys had big mazel tov to our friend Ben Rose from Manchester. Did you know this? This is me catching up with the daf just a couple hours after my wife gave birth to beautiful, still unnamed twin girls earlier this week. Excuse the poor photo, but one of the twins was slightly... What happened? I look sleepy.
He just had a baby.
He just had a baby and he's still learning. Adirab, that's the daf must keep going. Wishing the entire MDY family on Simchas and Brachas always. Ben Rose, Manchester. Yaakov Rasner, 30th anniversary. And he says everybody this is his 3rd, 4th time going through the daf. And he recommends that everybody should join the daf. Yishkoyach, Mazel Tov, Yaakov Rasner. Ooh. Okay, we'll skip this. Maybe we'll do this tomorrow. Rabbi Isai, on Friday, we had a situation here in Ramat Shemesh. All of a sudden, there was a siren. It was the first time that I remember something like this, even though we had similar things, but not like this. There was a siren that meant that get into the mamad. We have these rooms. Every apartment has a room. And my wife is in Chutz La'aretz. I have my 2 boys. And we ran into the mamad. And as we're running to the mamad, we heard a tremendous loud bang. Everybody that was in Ramat Shemesh knows what I'm talking about. What? It fell next door to you. What, in Bet?
I didn't read out 56.
Yeah. 58 in the Chutzner it fell. What part? The Israeli part or not? There's a few Yerushalmis. They asked me, "Did you see the missiles?" I said, "What missiles? It's Sionist stuff. It's made up. It's like, but it fell in their neighborhood. So, okay, fine." So it was little whatever. Some people got more nervous than others, but it was reality. We hear it. We know about the missiles that fall down in the Tivot and all those other places, but not in our neighborhood. And here, a real missile, a live missile, exploding right above our neighborhood and falling in your Chutzner. 58. So here, Yoshi just did this real quickly yesterday. I didn't ask him to do it. He did it as a freebie on his time, he said. So great. Here, check this out. With sound. Good morning, Rav Eli. Have a wonderful day. I hope Yoshi's watching. Do the daf. Okay. We have our own Iron Dome, Rav Eli, our own Iron Dome. Look, Yoshi, wow, look at this. Yoshi, unbelievable. You got it. The Koil is sponsored by Anonymous from Lakewood. The Masech is sponsored by Mr. Eli Stefansky, Menachem Toporowitz, Mendel, Shalom, and Yosef, Toporowitz. Sponsor of the month, Zechrya Bas Yosef. Sponsor of the month, Zechrya Ben Moshe. Sponsor of the month, Eliyahu Ben Yosef Menachem Mendel. Sponsor of the day, Yeblach. Lirfua Shlema of Sara Bas Shosana. Isn't that the same name? Vered and Shoshana. Okay. Akasha for Maisa. Sara Gossage of Chicago. Something like that. The art of the month for a complete refuah for Chaim Tzvi Ben Lei. Vered is Shoshana and no? It's not the same? Okay, whatever. Kasha for myself. Okay, so Rabbi said we're in the middle of the sugya of Egla Rufa. I just asked Yoshi to change the picture a little bit because he had an axe the other day. I need it, yeah. And we're going to see that it's a cleaver, so he changed it up to cleaver. So, as we learned the Mishnah, the Skanim come in and they say a pasuk. Again, what's the situation? Egla Rufa. They find the body outside of the city. They have to measure what city is closest to the body. Even if you know for sure what city is closest, you still have to measure. It's a mitzvah to measure, as we're going to see. And then they bring this egel, they bring a calf, they cut its head off from the back, as we'll see. And there's psukim that are said. The Skanim say, Yodeinu l'shavchus adam hazeh. The Kohanim say, Kar b'lam Yisrael, Shabbatisa Hashem, Baltidin Donaki b'kerev Am Yisrael. We'll see this all. So now we're holding by the Gemara. In the Mishnah it says, how do I know that these psukim are said only like this in Lashon HaKodesh and not in English? Because it says, Ki yimatzeh chalal ba'adama, v'yatzus kenecha v'shriftecha. How in the world do those words mean that it has to be Lashon HaKodesh? Where do you see that in the words? Says the Gemara, we're holding where it says Gemara, again, 10 lines from the bottom, even if it's not 10 lines. Maika Amar. Where do you see that it's Lashon HaKodesh? Amar Voch Amar. Shenemar va'anu va'amru u'lahalon hu oimer. You're right. It's nothing to do with the pasuk that the Mishnah says. There's Xer Shava. The word anu. It says over here anu, it says over there anu, and that's how I know it has to be in Lashon Kodesh. And we learn from this pasuk before the same idea that certain things have to be said in Lashon HaKodesh from the pasuk V'anu Alavim. Mani amur lahalom b'Lashon HaKodesh, avkar b'Lashon HaKodesh. Great. Now, so why does the Mishnah bring this pasuk? Ki yimatzeh chalal ba'adama. V'seider egla rufa keitzad. And then the Mishnah continues. And how does it work? That's why the Mishnah brings that pasuk, because we're talking about how does the Egla Arufa work. By the way, Reb Chaim Kanievsky's first sefer, I forgot how old he was, maybe 18, I don't remember at a young age, his very, very first sefer was Eitan Nachal Eitan, and that's about egla rufa. That was his first sefer, I believe. Zkenecha. So, what's Bezdin Hagala B'Yerushalayim? So here's the picture in the Beis Hamikdash, the Lishkas Hagazis. There was the Sanhedrin. As we're going to see, the Gemara is actually going to talk about this half circle bench that the 71 Sanhedrin would sit on. So the Bezdin would come out of Yerushalayim. Some of the Bezdin would come out, and it's three of them. Review the Omer Chamisha. So we have machlokes in the Mishnah. Is it 3 or 5? What's the machlokes? Torah Rabbanon v'Yosef Zkenecha v'Shivtecha. Zkenecha Shnayim v'Shivtecha Shnayim. Zkenecha is plural, so it's 2. Shivtecha is plural, 2. Ve'ein Bezdin Shakol, and you can't have an equal amount of people on a Bezdin. So if you have 4, now you have to add another one, and you have 5. Moisivim aleim oid echad. Fine. Arega Chamisha. Divrei Yehuda. Shimon Oimer. Zkenecha Shnayim. We only use one word, one out of 2 words. Zkenecha. So it's 2. Ve'ein Bezdin Shakol. So moisivim aleim oid echad. Harek and Shloisha. I don't use the word Shivtecha. Rav Shimon Ami Yoksiv Shivtecha. Why only use one out of 2 words? You have Zkenecha and Shivtecha, and he uses the word Zkenecha to tell us that it's 2 plus 1 equals 3. Why not 5? He learns from there that has to be the best. The best of the Sanhedrin, the best of the Shoftim, or the Dayanim are in the Sanhedrin, people that speak 7 languages, the top of the top from the Beis HaMikdash. I know this halacha, but from Ziknei, if I want to tell me plural, I can use the word Ziknei, it's also plural. Why using Zikenecha extra chaf? Teaches the 2 things. Shimon, Ziknei, Hashuk. I'll think, what's Ziknei Hashuk, Rabbi Isai? What would you think? Just reading the Gemara, Ziknei Hashuk. What is it? What would you think? No, anybody? Old men from the... No, that's not what Rashi says. It means regular Bezdin. G'daylim, Chashuvim, regular Bezdin. Fine. Says Gemara... Because Rahman is Kenecha. Because Rahman is Kenecha. Maybe it's the 23 Sanhedrin. Because Rahman is Shivtecha, from the 71 you have to take. The best of the best. And what do? They measure. You need the best of the best to measure. Review the Gomar, Ziknei, Miziknei Eido. He learns from Parhelm Dover. Here, Stam, and we have a picture. This is not working now. Why is this not working? So this is the parish of Parhelm Dover, and it says over there the word Ziknei Ha'ida. Malalam Yuchadim Shebe'eda. Afkan Yuchadim Shebe'eda. If the Sanhedrin, they made a mistake in halacha, so they have to bring a cow, a bull, and over there it says, we're talking about the Skanim, the Miyuchadim, the best of the best. Says the Gemara, Igomar, if Rabbi is already learning from Paralel Davar, Ligmar Kula Milsim Hasam, learn everything, learn that you need 5, because he learned over there that you need 5 from the Sanhedrin. So why do you have to learn from Ziknecha, Shiftecha? Says the Gemara, so why do I need those 2 words? Ella, says the Gemara, Ella over here means forget the whole Gzerusha, nothing. What he's learning is Vav v'Shevtecha l'minyana. He's learning a Vav. That's what he's learning, that's it. Forget, erase everything I said until now. He's learning from the extra Vav, from v'Shevtecha, to teach us that you need the 5. Reb Shimon, Vav l'mashmalei. Over here he doesn't learn Vavs, Taf, Mem Hey Amud Aleph. Because these are some of the largest dapim in Shas. These are like, they remind me of brachas. Just the words, look at Daf Mem Vav Amud Beis, for instance. It's like three regular daf. It's equal, I bet you if you counted the words, it's like 4 or 5 daf in Nedarim, in Nazar. So just to read it, if I were to read it without explaining, it would take a half hour. So we gotta go on a pace here. No jokes, no stories, nothing. Okay, whatever, you know what I mean. Elamiyato. V'yotzu shnayim. Here, let's see this. Good. Now it's working. Baruch Hashem. Let's take the pasuk where it says Kenecha v'Shevtecha. Ask the Gemara. There are another 2 words in the pasuk. V'yotzu is also plural. Umadadu is also plural. according to you, each one of these words should represent 2 dayanim from the Sanhedrin. Total of how many? 4 words that have plural times 2 equals 8. And there's no bezin shakel. There's no such thing as an equal bezin. Total of 9. You have a total of 9. Okay, Rav Shimon doesn't want to learn the word sheftecha, but at least you have 6 plus 1 is 7. The Gemara says you're right. It's a good kasha. But if I tell you that the word v'yatzu and the word umadadu come to teach us 2 other halachas, then you don't have a kasha. It's not to teach us they need another 4 dayanim. It's to teach us another halacha. That what? V'yatzu hey v'lo shluchayin. The bezdin cannot send out a shliach. There's no shliach here. There's no shluchei shalom k'moisai. The Sanhedrin has to go out themselves. Umadadu, and this is a tremendous halacha, Rabbi Isai. They must measure. Shafilu nimtzu ba'alil le'ir hoyamaididim. Let's say you're 5 feet outside of Bet Shemesh. So you measure, is this closer than Yerushalayim? Everybody with enough seichel and ways knows that Yerushalayim is 17 miles away. You don't have to measure 5 feet. No, the Torah tells us you have to measure. Somebody was trying to explain that the reason is, the whole point of the measuring is to make a big commotion and to find the murderer through that. Because part of the problem is, if you don't find the murderer, you can't punish him, and then the punishment goes to the city. You don't want the city to suffer. Those days they didn't have WhatsApp, didn't have the news, so they make a whole scene. They're taking out the measure tape, and people say, "What's going on here? Oh, we found a victim. We found a body. We got to do something." And then people start, "Oh yeah, I think I know, I think I heard," and then maybe we'll find the murderer. Masis isn't like Rav Eli ben Yaakov. The mission doesn't go like Rav Eli ben Yaakov. It had a number of times. The sign Rav Eli ben Yaakov. I just asked Thomas. I heard a joke. And they get to Paraduma, to the whole Parah thing, the Rufa. The guy said, Talmud asked his Rebbe, the philosopher, says, why is it that small little birds, they have the entire sky, and giant cows, they can't fly. They're stuck in a little thing. And as he's asking the question, a bird comes and does what a bird does sometimes on people's heads. So the philosopher says, oh, here's your answer. Imagine if cows could fly. Which reminds me of Yankel Galinsky, who once was walking and a bird taka did his strachim on his head. And he said, at least for me, it wasn't as nice, like, he had a tzitr. He had a little tzitr, but maybe I'm messing up the joke. Okay, fine. Something about the tzitr, that's all I remember. Fine, Zok the Gemara. I'm not going to say any more jokes. We got to go. The what? Rabbi Elazar Yaakov is a kenecha zu Sanhedrin. The words kenecha is the Sanhedrin finished. Sheftecha is a melech v'kohen gadol. If we pause right here, he's mechulek on 2 things at the end of the day. He says that it's not enough to bring 3 or 5. You have to bring 1.5 busloads of dayanim. You need 71 dayanim to come and measure. That's a big scene already. That's what the Gemara is going to come out at the end. In addition to that, he says you have to bring the king down. You have to bring the kohen gadol. It's crazy. It's a big matzav. Melech l'chsev, melech b'mishmel yamid eretz. Kohen gadol l'chsev, v'vasa like yadim l'bim l'shev l'sheyeh. Yibaylu. V'lazim Yaakov b'melech kohen gadol l'depalig. Is he only adding that they have to bring the king and the kohen gadol, which the Tanoim in the mission don't talk about. Sanhedrin. But when it comes to the Sanhedrin, he doesn't argue. Ikir b'Yehuda, Ikir b'Shimon. He's either it's 3 or 5, but he doesn't say 71. Maybe you need to literally bring 71 Sanhedrin down. I'll bring it to you. So we're talking about the parish of Zakim Mamre. Another halacha. If you have a Talmud Chacham, an older person, Talmud Chacham, who argues on the Sanhedrin, he's chayiv misa. So what happened? He bumps into the entire Sanhedrin. Picture this. He bumps into the entire Sanhedrin outside of Yerushalayim, outside of the Chayma. Now the question is, what are they doing outside of the Chayma? Must be that they were on a field trip to measure. That's what the Gemara is saying. Well, what's the story? Maybe that's considered rebelling against the Sanhedrin. It's only if the Sanhedrin is at the Beis Hamikdash in that room that we showed before. It has to be in the Beis Hamikdash. But the Gemara says the Nafal Kama. How many did he bump into? And only some of the Sanhedrin came out. Why would you ever have a minute to punish him? Maybe he's being mechaven to all the ones that are left over in the Beis Hamikdash, and he's not chayiv misa. Obviously, the only time he's chayiv misa is when all of the Sanhedrin say the opposite of him, and he argues at them, so he's chayiv misa. So, in other words, he bumped into 71 people. Why were they all outside? If they went to buy pizza, they're not allowed to leave the Beis Hamikdash. The Sanhedrin, which is like the navel, the center, Agana Sar. It's like the Sar means a moon, right? They have the red cross here, and then they have what is it called, the Arab thing? Sar Adam. Sar Adam means a moon, the crescent, like a. Do I have that picture? Let's see if we have it again, just to remind the Olam. Here, this is a Sar. It's the shape of a half a moon. Al Yechsar Hamazig. So we all know that in the time of the Gemara, they had very strong wine. So they diluted two parts water, 1 part wine. So in other words, the pasuk is saying, Shlomo HaMelech is saying that don't leave the Beis Hamikdash without a third of the Sanhedrin left over. So Mela, there's no reason for a Zakim Mamre to bump into 71 Sanhedrin. How's it possible? You always need to leave behind 23. If one of them has to leave, if there's 23 left over, like the amount that we have in a typical Sanhedrin Tana, then you go out. They had to go on a field trip because they had a mitzvah to take care of. What other mitzvah could I think of? It must be they went to measure by the Egla Rufa. That goes according to Rav Eli. That what? To measure Egla Rufa is not enough to have 3 or 5. You need 71. I can push it off. There's another mitzvah that they go out for. When you want to expand Yerushalayim or the Azar, which is not Negetas, because then they would be in the Azar, so it's not a kasha. But over here, sometimes they have to leave the Beis Hamikdash to expand the city. For that you need 71. We have a Mefurish Brisa that says like a Yosef, the Zakim Amra found them outside of the Chayma. Kigoin, and what does it say? Shiyatzu lemedidas egla. Okay, this is a Mefurish Raya that they would leave the Beis Hamikdash to go measure. All 71 would go out. I would think that if a guy argues on the Sanhedrin when they're outside of the Beis Hamikdash, he's chayiv misa. No, only if he argues in the Beis Hamikdash. Great. Excuse me. Says the Gemara brings the Mishnah. Nimsa tamun bagal oitali be'ilan. If you find the corpse, the dead person, under rubble or hanging from a tree. Yeah, sorry. So there's a guy in the basement Shugoyim. Just one more. That's it, bro. It's what's the Shabbos, Guy in the basement Shugoyim. He finds his roommate trying to drown himself in the bathtub. So he saves him. The doctors come in, the whole party. They say, listen, good news and bad news. Good news is that because we see that you're Bahachi, you're a smart guy, you saved your friend, we're probably going to release you. The bad news is that we found him hanging. He's dead. So he says, you guys don't understand. I hung him to dry him off. How's the guy hanging on a tree? Hanging on a tree because this Meshugana or whatever. So now we're jumping into another sugya. What is the only mitzvah in the Torah? The only mitzvah in the Torah that you mekayim by not paying any attention and not trying to do it. The only mitzvah in the Torah that you're mekayim like that is shikha. Forgetting a bundle of wheat behind. So, if you forgot it when it's hidden under something, then that's not shikha. In other words, it's a shaila here how to learn the ba sada. Is it in the field or on the field? Says the Gemara, basada, no, same word, but l'rabois es atamon. Fakert. When you take that word, it's in the field. At the end of the day, it's not on the field, but it's in the field. Ba means in, and therefore, if you forgot a bundle of wheat, or what else? If you forgot your thing and it's covered, it's still included in the word ba. It's shikha, I didn't even grab it. Now, what about, maybe it's very similar to our sugya. We're talking about a dead person that's also covered. So he's not in the parish of Egla Rufa for the same reason. It's just the way you read the pasuk. You found a dead person. So it means in any shape, way, or form. Anyway, even under a pile of rubble. But then the Torah says ba'adama. So the Gemara's having me was that the ba'adama and ba'asad is the same kind of idea. Maybe we have a machlokes. The beis, does it mean in or on? So the Gemara, no. If I'm reading the pasuk, means I find the dead person in any way I find him, I have to do egla roof, I have to chop off the eagle's head. But then the Torah comes and it says no, ba'adama. So prat l'taman. Then it comes to give us a miyut. I take something off. So I take off if it's buried. However, when it comes to shikha, the way you read the pasuk is different. It fits right in. Shikha dumya de katzir. Makatzir begaloi, shikha bagaloi. Since it says over there in the pasuk katzir, so it's similar to shikha, and it has to be something that's in the open. If it's covered, there's no shikha. And then katzir rachmana basada l'rabbis is a tamon. So it comes to be marba and to add that if it's hidden, it's still shikha. The Rebbe Yehuda teibogle meshikha dumi the katzir. How come Rebbe Yehuda doesn't say that? Erechanami vela basada lamali mebayile l'rabbi shikhas kama. So here's another halacha that if you forget something that's standing up, in other words, still attached to the ground, you didn't reap it, you didn't cut it down, that's also included in shikha. You and I wouldn't know this halacha. You would think, oh, shikha means I reaped it, I made a bundle, and it dropped, I fell, I forgot it. No, if you forgot to run your tractor over a certain parcel of your land, that's also shikha. Rabbanan shikchas kamim menalu, and how did the Rabbanan know this? Nafkilu mikitziksa tzircha b'sadecha b'shachachta. I think that's what the girsa here is. In the beis, I have here beis b'shachachta. You have to add that extra word. In other words, the tzircha b'sadecha is b'shachachta. If even though it's still standing up, it's still considered shikha. Reb Yehuda, Reb Voch, Reb Lazar. What do I do with the b'sadecha? The Omer Reb Voch, Reb Lazar. Prat l'shetzafu amorim. I have a picture here. Hold on. Oh, here we go. You ready? That's tzafu. In other words, wind came and lifted up your bundle and put it in your friend's sada. So that's not shikha. I didn't forget it. The wind took it. Rabbanon. Mibasada bisadecha. So in the word bisadecha, I have the word basada. So therefore, I know that if it's saf, it floated off to my friend's field, it's not shikha. Rabbi Yehuda basada bisadecha lo mashmalei. He doesn't seem to take one word and make drushes out of it like that. He doesn't like that. Boy, Rabbi Yirmiyah. Now we have a shaila. Tzafu amarim l'toich sadeyu mau. Check this out. Based on what we just said. What if here's his bundle and it's his field? It didn't fly into his friend's field, but it lifted up and it went onto something on his field. Maybe a rock, whatever it is, something that's elevated. Question is, when I have a bundle of wheat that's elevated, is it considered on my field? It's not mamish on my field. It's above my field. Maybe that's not included in shikha. His own field. Now, at the end of the day, it's within the airspace of my field, and therefore it's included in shikha or ilav kisadidame. Or maybe once it's elevated, it's on the chair, it's on a rock, it's not part of the field. The Omar Prat, maybe I could make a diuk on what we just said a second ago. He said, if it floats into your friend's field, there's no shikha. Oh, I could have said a bigger chiddush. Just say that if something flies anywhere, even if it flies within my own field, I'm also potter. Why did he say halacha that it flew into his friend's field? Remember, it flew all the way. You could be medayik that in your own field, not. That, in other words, it is shikha. So the Gemara says, no, I don't like what you're saying. What if it flew into your friend's field and it's laying on the ground? It is shikha. Of course it's not shikha. The point is because it went to your friend's field. Not because it's safu, not because it's flying. The halacha of shikha is in your field, not in your friend's field. So obviously the word safu over there doesn't mean literally it's floating and it went to your friend's field and it continued to float. You're asking to me that if it went into your friend's field and it's on the ground, you are chayiv in shikha. Yeah, it's not shikha. Sorry, it's not shikha. So, but why do you use, when it went into your friend's field, why do you use the lashon of floating? How else did it get to your friend's field? The wind, the tornado came, picked it up, and threw it there. So maybe I don't have a raya from there about your own field. If it flew onto a chair, what the halacha is. Toshma. Here, interesting case. You're holding this bundle of wheat. You're holding it in your hand. And you're going to go to another city. And he put it down on another bundle of wheat. Yeah, it's like when you take your keys, you put it down on something, and then you forget. So the bottom one is shikha because you left it there. But the top one is not shikha, says the Gemara. So over here you see this idea of your bundle being on top of something else, and you see that it's not shikha. We have a machlokes. The bottom one is buried by the top one, so there's no shikha on something buried. And the upper one is floating, and you don't give shikha on something that's not directly on the ground. The whole machlokes is on the bottom one. So l'chayra, you can see from here that if something is elevated, not on the field, there's no shikha on it. Says Gemara, no. Obvious answer. Shani Awesome, keeping the achzik bay, zachabay. What happened? This guy took a bundle of wheat, and he's about to go to another city. He said, let me put it down for a second. And then it happens to me every day, basically. I take my keys, I put it down. Sometimes I put it down in the bathroom. Sometimes I put it down on my bed. And then I'm looking around the whole house. Where did I put it? That's what people do, right? I think. It's just me. Whatever. Okay.
When you get to 50.
Yeah. I've been doing it for 50 years. So he put it down for a second, and he in Shlamazel forgot about it. But he was zoich in it. He made it his. You can't say it's shikha. Shikha means he forgot it. He didn't forget it. Once he lifted it up and said, I'm bringing it to the next town, that means he's zoich in it. The ani can't take it. That's the pshat. So it's not because it's elevated. Don't bring me a raya here. Again, we want to know if a bundle of wheat on top of a chair, could you do shikha? There's no raya from it because this bundle of wheat, he already was zoich in it. That's why he can't do shikha. So then why are you telling me that he put on top of another bundle? Even if you put it down on the ground, there's no shikha. I want to tell you a chiddush about the bottom one and the machlokes that we have in the bottom one. But it says mufurish is because it's floating. In other words, it's not touching the ground. It has the same halacha when you lift up a bundle of wheat and you say, I want to be zoichin, I want to take it in another city, then it has the halacha of something that's elevated and there's no shikha on it. Zog the Gemara Mabayo. Where the Gemaisa? Hareini kiben azai b'shukei Tveria. Abaya lived in Pumpadisa, and one day Rashi says he had a very clear mind, and he said, "I want to be like Ben Azai." Ben Azai used to say, when he was very clear, he said, "Ask me anything." So somebody, Mamish Choshev, he said, I had this crazy question on my mind. It's interesting that you're saying, ask me anything. I'm going to ask you something very, very interesting. This It's one of these questions, I think, that you never go over to the Gala Dor Abai and ask him. Because he would say, like, what are you asking this question? But if you're ready, offering your services to answer any question in the world, here goes. Here, you ready? So this is the best I could do, basically. There's 3 cases over here. It's the same exact case. But there's 3 possibilities, says the Maksha, the guy that's asking a question. You have 2 bodies, okay? It's the same case, 2 bodies. You see, one on top of the other. But the head of one is not directly above the head of the other. In other words, you have 2 bodies. How do you measure the city? You found 2 bodies. It's an Egla Arufa situation. 2 murder victims. And they're laying one on top of the other. How do you measure to the closest city? From the top one, from the bottom one, from neither, or from both? What's the shaila? The bottom one could be tamun, could be hidden. Now, is there a situation of hidden? It's different than under a pile of rocks. Why? Because it's under another body. Min b'minoi. We know throughout Shas. Sometimes if it's the same material, it doesn't cancel the other thing out. It's the same. Like a bunch of apples don't cancel each other out. It's a pile of apples. But if you have on the bottom of a pile of apples an orange, then it does cancel maybe. It's 2 bodies. So is the bottom one considered hidden or not hidden? That's number 1. Question number 1. Question number 2 is the top one considered a floater? Not connected to the ground. It has to be, it says, basada, sadecha. The body has to be touching the ground. Well, wait a minute. Is it touching the ground or not touching the ground? On the one hand, it's on another body, so it's not touching the ground. But it's a body. It's the same min. So maybe it's touching the ground. So you could take this question in 4 different directions. The Gemara says 3 directions. In other words, question number 1, let's talk about case number 1. The top body is not floating. It's considered touching the ground. So therefore what? You're going to measure from that body. The bottom body is considered hidden, so you're not going to measure the bottom body. That's situation number 1. Situation number 2 is that the top body is considered not touching the ground. Not touching the ground, you don't measure from it. But the bottom body is not tamun, and therefore, if it's not tamun, you do measure from it. Third situation, or possibility, is that the top body is a floater, and you don't measure from it. And the bottom body is tamun, and you can't measure from a tamun either. The Gemara doesn't bring this case, but Rashi points out, they could say, once we know the 3 cases, you also say this. The top body is not floating, and therefore you could measure. The bottom body is not tamun, and you could measure. In other words, so let's look at it again. Either you measure from the top, you don't measure from the bottom. You measure from the bottom, you don't measure from the top. You don't measure from either, or you do measure from both. Okay, those are the 4 possibilities. Let's see it inside. Says the Gemara. That's this big kasha that he asked him. 3 lines from the bottom. 2 dead bodies, one on top of the other. From where? Then you should measure from the top one. Or perhaps it's the same material. So therefore, but even though it's the same material, you do say that it's still considered not touching the ground. But the bottom one is not considered buried, so you measure from the bottom one. Or have a tamon, or maybe no, even if it's the same material, it's considered buried. Have itself. Kids, you don't bury from you don't measure from either of them. Amar le tinisua Daf Yomi Beis sponsored by Greg Haber for Bracha, Tzach, Parnasa, Berius for my entire family, Rav Eli, and everyone learning the Daf Yomi. Nisu says Rashi, we're gonna at least try to attack one part of it. This story that we had just before, a guy forgot his bundle of wheat and he put it down on top of another bundle. So the bottom one is considered that you forgot it, the top one is not. We had this story before. So you could say that everybody holds like Rabbi Yehuda. The Amar Basada Prat Talmud that he holds is a problem of being buried. Something that's buried is not a egla rufa. The Mar Savar Min B'Minoi have a Talmud. Reb Shimon holds, like Yehuda, that what? Min B'Minoi, it's the same corpse, and it's considered buried. Umar Savar Le have a Talmud. Loi, that's not the Machlokes. Ikir Yehuda Sfir Lahu, the Kulam Min B'Minoi have a Talmud. Maybe you say that everybody holds that even though it's the same type of min, it's considered buried. And over here we have a different shaila. If when you have the bundle, a bundle that's buried is considered shikronat rabbanon k'rabbanon. Reb Shimon ben Yehuda, Rabbi will be over in the sugi in a second. Don't worry about it. Reb Shimon ben Yehuda kireb Yehuda, that it's not considered shikta. Says the Gemara, Yachi my iri al gabi Haber. I feel above Tronami. So if that's the case, so why are you telling me one bundle on top of another bundle? So just say a case of Taman, a real case of Taman, that it's buried underneath dirt. It's only here to teach us how strong Yehuda holds of his own shita. Even though they're both bundles, it's still considered that it's buried. It's not under rocks. It's even under wheat. It's still considered buried. Tarabana. New sugi. Rabbi, you can wake up. New sugi. Chala. When the Torah says chala, means from a metal object. I'm thinking to myself, today, most people that die are from metal objects. Bullets are metal. L'chayr, that would be included in this word chala. V'loy chanok, and not strangled. Not chanok. Chala, v'loy meparper. If you find this guy dying, you don't go and bring an egla rufa. Hey, you start saying, Vidoy, let's bring the egla rufa. It doesn't work like that. He has to be dead. In other words, if he dies 5 minutes later, fine, then you bring the egla rufa. Right now, you don't do it. Ba'adama, and this is halachas that we learned already today. V'loy tamim begal. You have to find him not in under a pile of stones. Noifel v'loy tali b'ilon, and not a guy hanging. Basada v'loy tzaf al pnei hamayim, and not floating on the water. All these cases, if he died from metal, you could see that he had a stab wound, and that's how he died. You do egla rufa. If a guy was laying on the ground over there next to some garbage, it doesn't. The point is that he was choked to death. You ask him that you don't do egla rufa. Why? Why? Because you take the word literally. It has to be from a metal object and not somebody that was choked. So take that word also literally. It has to be on top of the ground and not inside the ground. It has to be on the ground and not hanging from a tree. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Lazar, there's a bunch of here. Here's one pasuk in pasuk Vav. The whole parsha starts from they found the chalal, and then over here it says so you see there's extra words chalal, so he learns it from the word chalal. Okay. Found the body next to the border of Eretz Yisrael, or in a city that's mostly goyim. Why is there no egla rufa? Because it's so common over there. It's matzui. You don't do egla rufa when it happens all the time. Like they call it Chi-Town in Chicago, the south side of Chicago. There's people, I don't know how many a day. This is like literally, it's like it's Nairvayim over there. So that's matzah. You're going to make an egla rufa every 15 minutes. So it's when it happens once a year, or once every 20 years. Fine. Ein moedim elalir pshita. So then the Mishnah says interesting thing. It says the same thing but in reverse. What does it say? But it says before that, what? Did I skip? What? No, you're not supposed to pay attention to that. We're trying to finish the daf quickly. You need a city that has a bezin. If it doesn't have a bezin, there's no egla rufa. And then it says, listen to this. It's good. It helps us out here. It has to have, it says, if the city does not have a bezdin, you don't do egla rufa. And then it says, it's mamish extra. If it doesn't have a bezdin, you don't do egla rufa. And if it does have a bezdin, you do egla rufa. Okay, it's the same thing, right? Pshita, keep the tunnel lir shein ba bezdin anoidanadein, moedim lir sheish ba bezdin. Hakamashmal. Here's the chiddush. Kedusanya. Menachem nimtza samach leir sheim ba bezin meshemenichin oisa umodim leir sheyesh ba bezin. Oh, it's a major chiddush. It's not pshat that if there's no bezdin, you go home. If there's no bezdin, you measure to the closest city that does have a bezdin. Says the Elegant Mishnah, sponsored by Moshe Cohen, l'schos for fuas and parnasa and Torah and all the good things. What happens if you have a situation that a body was found exactly 100 feet from one city and 100 feet from the second city, exactly to the millimeter? So each city brings one egla rufa. Divrei Eliezer. Says the Mishnah, Ve'in Yerushalayim mevia egla rufa. How do you guys learn this? Yerushalayim doesn't bring an egla rufa. They find the body next to Yerushalayim, there's no egla rufa. So what happens? They go home. You bring it to the next city. You go to Bet Shemesh, Telstone, whatever's next to Yerushalayim. That's the pshat. What's the matter? No, it has to do with where the murderer is from, not where he lived. We don't care where he's from. We want to find out who the murderer is. He's decapitated. They knocked his head off. And they found his head here and his body here. We'll see, it's not so far away from each other. But now we have a question. From his head to Telstone is 100 feet. From his head to Yerushalayim is 101 feet. From his body to the Yerushalayim is 101. So what do you measure from? So, Divrei Eliezer holds, you take the head and you put it by the body, and then you measure. You take the body and you put it by the head. What part of the body do you measure? From his navel, from his nose, from his neck. I wanted to start off the shir asking a shayla. I forgot to ask this oilam. How is it possible that if someone has a very long nose, it causes a whole city to lose a lot of money? Here's the thing, guy. If you measure from the nose, so yeah, my time the Rav Eliezer. Kosova efshel tzamtzem. So Rav Eliezer holds two things. First of all, that's possible, humanly possible, to measure something to the millimeter, and also he learns that it's possible to bring two egla rufas on one body. What if you hold Iev Shel Tzamtzem? That's impossible for human beings to measure so precisely. And therefore what? What would happen now? I have a body, I measured, it came out on my tape measure 100 feet exactly, and I measured from the other side 100 feet exactly, but the halacha is it's impossible. The two things can't be exact. So now what? What would you do? So you'd bring one egla rufa, both cities would pitch in, and they would make a t'nai in a condition. If it's from this city, it's from here, it's from this. But Rav Eliezer holds efshel tzamtzem, so you bring two. You have to inherit the place where the body is. Here we have a mandama that holds that Klai Yisrael never inherited Yerushalayim. They inherited everything, the tzvat, tzveri, everything. But now Yerushalayim belongs to all of Klai Yisrael. We always, we learned that the Mizbech is in this part of Yehuda, this part of Binyamin, not according to this mandama. What's the machlokes between Rav Eliezer and Rav Akiva? What do you do with the body, not the body? Does the body go to the head, or the head goes to the body? If they're arguing about how you measure, it says right afterwards how to measure from the nose, from this. So obviously we're not talking about measuring. That if you find the body and you don't know who it is, find the Meis Mitzvah. The halacha is, Yeshua instituted this halacha, says Rashi, it's one of the 10 halachas instituted, you bury him right there and then. So a guy has an unbelievable, a property in the middle of Manhattan, and they find the body there and they don't know who it is. It's worth $400 million, that caver. They don't ask any kashas, they open up the ground, they put him in there. Shalom Yisrael, that's it. Okay? By the way, here I was looking at some houses, plots here in Mishkafayim. So somebody I know owns a plot with a grave in the middle of his plot. So you have to build a house like around it. Like in the center is that's why I didn't sell the plot yet. Okay, but a lot of these, fine. It's a big thing here in Bet Shemesh. Says Gemara, so now his head is on Fifth Avenue. His body is on, what other avenue is there? Second Avenue. Now, Trump is screaming, no, not in my place. And he's screaming, yes, over there. You bury him over there. Do him in toiva. I only have a little head here. What do you want to ruin my whole property for the little head? Rebbe says, no, that guy, the guy with the body suffers. Take the head and you put it by the body. So when the guy chopped off his head fell down. The body falls together with the head, but the head is kind of a circular part, and it starts rolling. So the body ended up where it died, but the head might have gone a few more feet. No, the opposite. The head falls down right on the spot. The guy's running away. Mamash, he's running away from the guy. Please don't kill me. He's running. The guy takes a sword, chops the head. The head drops, and the guy keeps on going a little bit until he runs out of energy with that head and falls. That's what he says here. That's what he says. One man holds that the life is from the nose, in other words, breathing. The digestive system. Maybe it's similar to another machlokes. Where is the vlad? Where does it start from? What part of his body is first inside its mother? The head starts first. I forgot to look it up, but science today probably have pictures. Where does it start? It starts from the eyes or something? No? I don't know. The heart? No, it starts before the pump. There's something. I don't remember anymore. I just remember seeing those eyes, scary stuff. From my mother's womb, you pull me out first. The Rash says the lashon of first. So here we have the lashon of Nazirus, which means from the head. So it starts from the head. Starts from his navel. Starts from the middle of the body, and then it grows to all sides. He says, he's talking about how a vlad is created. He holds misvara. It makes sense that it starts from the center of the body and it grows to all directions. But when it comes to life, what's the most? I don't even understand the shayla. I have to look into it. I mean, if you stop somebody's breathing for 1 minute, 2 minutes, he's dead. You stop somebody's digestive system, it could probably go for a week before he dies. So what's the machlokes exactly? What's more important? How do you? I'm missing an nekuda here. Like, what's important to a human being? Ear is the most important. No, somebody argues that ear is not. Okay. He doesn't argue. Maybe he's created from his stomach, but the most important thing is nishmas ruach chayim, breathing. It's from the neck. My time there, Lezim Yaakov, Yikidichsiv, Losses Oisach, El Tzavarei Chalei Rishoyim. The neck and the chalal, and we're talking about a chalal here. Fine, let's keep on going. Says the Eli Mishnah, sponsored by Moshe Cohen for all the great things. Nifteru, Ziknei Yerushalayim, V'ocholem. This Kadim came, the Bezdin on the buses, 1.5 buses came according to Lezim Yaakov. 71 people, or 3 people, or 5. They came for one purpose and one purpose only, to measure. So they left. Ziknei Yosef, then they bring the Dayanim from that city. Mevim Eglas, a bakar, a female calf, Asher Moshcha Ba'oil, similar to the Paraduma, which is an amazing medrash. Mentioned it once, but we got to say it again. There was a guy that had a Paraduma, and he tried to sell it to the Chachamim. The Chachamim made a deal with him. They said, okay, we're going to come with a $2 million suitcase tomorrow, have it ready. The guy was a guy, and he decided to pull shtick on the Jews. He said, they say that it has to be a cow that never carried anything. I'm going to put a tremendous burden on this calf all night long. Like this, I'll make my $2 million, and the Jew will have a shvacha cow, a cow that's not kosher. Okay, that's what he did. He put it on. They came the next morning, and the Chacham said, wait a minute. This has an oil on it. It had an oil. He says, what are you talking about? It never had oil. He says, look, a paraduma has 2 hairs by its neck, and it's supposed to be standing up. They're standing up yesterday when we came to do the deal, and they're lying down now. You put oil on it, we're not buying it, and they walked away. He lost his $2 million. Says the Mishnah. Ve'ein amum poisaba. But a mum that typically passels, we're almost done, Gershon. The mum that passels the paraduma doesn't passel this egla arufa. Bring it down. So over here, Nachal means the valley of Esan, not literally a river. Right? If you live in Ramat Shemesh, there's not a chiddush, but all the streets around the Beis Medrash are all called Nachals. Nachal Noam, Nachal Ayalo, Nachal this, Nachal Sorek, Zavitan, etc. So that means rivers. But in this context, L'Nachal Esan, to the valley of Esan, what does it mean? Esan Kemashmai, Kasha. It has to be hard ground. Now, Esan, and even if you can't find a place, a valley that has hard ground, kosher. If you want to see that picture again, why not? A koipetz is a cleaver, not an axe, like we had before. From the back of the neck. Maybe he should be standing a little bit to the side, not from the front. Okay. The place that it died over there, that place where they found the mace, is asur forever to plant there and to work the ground. You could do something that has nothing to do with the soil. You could put maybe a caravan on top of it. You could build a factory above ground, maybe. Yeah, but isn't that the same place? It's not. You're right. Mokum Arifa, correct. I thought it's the same, but you're right. It's not the same. You bring to Nachal Esan. He died over there. You bring the Nachal Esan. Correct. The Mokum Arifa, you don't do it. There's machlokes. How? Some say 4 amas, some say 40, 50 amas, 100 amas, some say even the entire, I think the Ram says the entire Nachal, you can never do you can't work there. Can't grow anything there. Zignu Yosef, 3 lines from the bottom, they wash their hands, says the Mishnah, also, well, you thought that these Sanhedrin or the G'dolei Adara, they were roitzchem. As we said, Rashi explained over there. He says over here that what happened was that he was so hungry that he stole food, and the guy chased him and killed him. So look at this pasuk for a second. Not this one. This is wrong. Hold on. Let me just get this. Here. And the last words, says the Mishnah, those 3 words they don't say. They say the entire pasuk, not the last 3 words. But HaKadosh Baruch is saying, when you do this whole procedure, we're not going to blame you for the death of that person. Rabboisai, have a gewaldige week. See you tomorrow at 7:15. Thanks for coming. Thank you.